Greetings Acolytes of the Force, and welcome back to the channel. Earlier, we did a video explaining the different councils of the Jedi Order as well as their functions. In that video, we mentioned that the Council of Reconciliation would pass judgment over those Jedi who had broken certain rules, committed a crime, or fallen to the dark side entirely. This posed an interesting question though. What was Jedi protocol, and what would happen to a Jedi who turned to the dark side? What was protocol like when the Council was aware of a Jedi that had fallen to the dark side? And how did they deal with such an event? It only makes sense that they would have many systems in place for dealing with such an issue, as great many Sith of galactic history were in fact fallen Jedi, and the rebirth of the Sith Order that came from Exar Kun and later Darth Malak and Revan were all results of the Jedi. Even the very first Dark Jedi who pioneered the Sith religion as we know it, Ajunta Pal, as well as his disciples, were again Jedi to begin with. So, knowing this, we wanted to take a deep look at what the systems are for punishing these Dark Jedi and Jedi that fell to the dark side of the Force. First though, according to our analytics, a lot of you that watch the channel haven't actually subscribed yet, so if you want to stay up to date with everything Star Wars lore related and news, force crush that subscribe button. Now Acolytes, let us answer the question. As we know, first the allegations would have to be proven before the High Council before they began moving forward. There would be a period of investigation upon discovery, or probable cause. They would then need to arrest the Jedi in question and hold court with the Council of Reconciliation. During this hearing, Jedi accused would stand trial against the Council, and any witnesses or advocates of the accuser were allowed to come forward with any testimonies that would clear their name of their Jedi brethren, or condemn them entirely. This of course though, is assuming that the affair was only internal, and that the Jedi had been accused of practicing dark side teachings. Had the Jedi committed some sort of other heinous act or crime, such as the case of Barriss Offee during the Clone Wars, when she bombed the Jedi Temple and ultimately framed Ahsoka, this was considered far more serious. In this case, they would entirely bypass the Council of Reconciliation and would be taken before the High Courts of the Galactic Senate, with the Jedi Council as the effective jury. The Jedi High Council, that is, not the Council of Reconciliation. The thing about this is, the accused Jedi can only be taken before Republic courts if they have committed a crime or acts of terrorism. The act of simply studying the dark side or being a Sith in itself is not necessarily illegal, as stated in the Star Wars novelizations when Mace Windu accused Palpatine of being a Sith Lord. In the novel for Revenge of the Sith, the dealings between Mace Windu and Palpatine are gone much more in depth than in the films. He didn't attack them at first, but continued to play coy, with Palpatine hoping that he could lower the defenses of the Jedi, as well as use the office holo security cameras to make sure the Jedi looked as bad as possible. In the scene, Mace Windu announces that Palpatine is a Sith Lord. Palpatine responds with the following though. Am I? Even if I were, this isn't of any concern, as I believe there are constituents in place to protect freedom of religion from persecution. By Republic law, it isn't illegal to simply be a Sith like it used to be. Around the time of 3959 BBY, Revan and Malak rose to power and started the Jedi Civil War, in which they brought back the Sith Empire once again to terrorize the Republic. This was the final straw after centuries of conflict with the Sith. In response to the brutal predations of Revan and Malak, as well as their followers, the Galactic Senate of the Republic drafted a bill that was intended to outlaw the practice of the Sith philosophy. The bill was ultimately approved and put into effect, making it illegal from that point onward to establish or be a member of a Sith organization, or even partake in the advancement of Sith teachings. The bill remained in effect for the next 3,000 years, with the Senate maintaining its legal stance against the Sith throughout the Great Galactic War, the Cold War, and the New Sith Wars. In a conflict called the Light and Darkness War, the Republic military was in need of new recruits to continue their fight against the Sith Empire, who were at the time organized into the Brotherhood of Darkness. Republic recruiters used the anti-Sith legislation of 3,000 years prior to justify their fight against the Brotherhood, as well as to explain their stance on the Jedi conflict. Essentially, if the Jedi had committed a crime in the name of the dark side, then they would be tried and imprisoned according to Republic law. However, if they were found to be studying the dark side and proven guilty by the Council of Reconciliation, the Jedi would be stripped of their rank, title, and lightsaber before being expelled expelled from the Jedi Order. This was the protocol for the Clone Wars era. Back in the day when the Sith were most prevalent, it was believed to be easy to say that the Jedi Order might feel led to outright execute and accuse them before they became a bigger problem by sharing secrets of the Jedi to the enemies. But based on normal Republic law, during the era of the Clone Wars, it was not explicitly illegal for anyone to be a Sith Lord, and therefore that is why Palpatine says to Mace Windu that it is not against any Republic code for him to be a Sith Lord, even though it would have been illegal at one point in time in Star Wars mythos. Most often though, studying the dark side of the Force and continuing an illegal activity went hand in hand for those Jedi that ultimately would fall to the dark side. In the era of the Clone Wars though, especially before the Clone Wars broke out, the Jedi Order was so dogmatic and so strict that it was actually very rare for a Jedi to fall to the dark side, especially Jedi of any significance. That is why when Dooku fell to the dark side of the Force, Mace Windu was so amazed that this was even possible, even though Dooku made it clear, and thanks to various canon novels, that he had been practicing the dark side of the Force for many years. Essentially though, if they had not broken any major laws by practicing the dark side of the Force, the worst that the Jedi could do was expulsion. If of course they could not ultimately sway them back to the light side of the Force, and convert them back to the path of the light, as of course the Jedi, especially the Council of Reconciliation, attempted to do just that first, reconcile with the Jedi that fell to the dark side. However, if they had committed a crime, again it would go directly to the Jedi High Council and was considered far more serious, with little to no chance of reconciliation with the Jedi Order and near definite prison time if they were not proved innocent. But anyway, Acolytes of the Force, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the Jedi procedure and protocol if somebody were to embrace the dark side of the Force or study dark side teachings? What are your thoughts on why it was ultimately not illegal for somebody to be a Sith Lord, yet why the Jedi would expel them from the Order? Do you think that during the era of the Clone Wars, this bill should have continued and it still should have been illegal to be a Sith Lord? And do you think that this would have solved many problems for the Jedi? Or was Palpatine's secret simply too well hidden? As always, Acolytes of the Force, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. Hit that subscribe button, and may the Force be with you.